All right, guys, today we have Smart Scout pulled up, and we're going to try to find some brands to reach out to. And I'm going to go through what my outreach looks like with these brands and take you through the real time of what I would do if I'm reaching out to these brands. So, the first thing we have to do, we got to pick a primary main category. So, this is one that's top of mind for me recently. We're going to do tools and home improvement. And then we're going to go through and set the filters up so that we can find find a brand that's actually going to let us sell. So, for me, I like to be above, let's say, $30,000 a month, right? I want the brand to have some meat, some juice that I can squeeze out, and so we'll do 30,000 to 200,000, and then average FBA sellers. I usually don't like touching that. I'm much more concerned about dominant seller sales percentage because I don't want a brand where someone has more than 50%, just because it makes it super hard to compete. And oftentimes that's a sign that that seller has a deal with the brand and all the other ones, they're buying through arbitrage or distributors. They're not actually buying directly from the brand, which is obviously always our goal. So I'm going to start out with that. And then what I'm also going to do is dominant seller country. We don't want Chinese sellers, right? We want United States brands. We want brands that we can actually contact. So we're going to do United States. As you can see, that drops it significantly. And so now we're going to go one by one and look at this. So let's start out with this brand, Sauced Up. I'm not a huge fan of this just because it's Amazon and these, so we'll keep going down the list. Right products. Okay, so this looks decent. It looks like we have. Actually, we're going to skip this just because there's two people right here that have the majority of. So a big thing to look at here is number of offers, right? So if all the other sellers, they just have one to two, a couple of offers, and then Amazon and one other seller, or just one other seller is all the offers, it's usually a sign that that one other seller is buying all of those items. So we'll keep going through. We don't want pattern. Okay, we can look at this one. All right, this looks a lot better, right? We have an even distribution. Some of the top sellers have more offers, but everyone's kind of carrying a bunch of the items, and it's a much more even distribution of sales and of brand share. So we have CMT Orange Tools. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go CMT Orange Tools, and we're going to try to find their website, right? And so I just do that by looking it up. If you need to, you can't find the website right away, you can ask ChatGPT. That's a great, resource to say, hey, find a website for this brand, and that works too. But I like, just to save time, I like to first just look for the website. So once I visit the website and it loads through, you're going to see this extension, and this is going to pop up. This is called Apollo, and what Apollo is basically a way to find employees that work at the company. So what we're going to do, we're going to open up Apollo, and we're going to click on employees. We're going to click view. And now we're going to go through what I like to call the employee waterfall, which is an order of priority of who we're looking for to contact. So for me, I'm in the Northeast. We can put or your location. So you want a regional rep that's assigned to your location because they'll be able to serve you best. And the reason why we want to reach out to regional reps or sales reps ahead of just reaching out to the company is because a lot of times the people who are sort of frontline workers at the company, customer service, the person who's picking up the phone for sales, they've been trained to just turn away Amazon sellers or just turn away sellers in general, right? They're not interested in how much you're going to spend. They're just taking orders, and they're saying, and they've been told, turn away Amazon sellers. So you don't really get to plead your case if they say no, and it's a much lower likelihood that you're actually going to get in touch with the person who's going to be dealing with you. Whereas if you find a regional rep for the Northeast or for your location, for me it's the Northeast, you're going to be in touch automatically with someone who is going to be the person who's going to help you out. And so you skip a step of having to go through customer service and maybe them dropping the ball and not passing your information along. So this is what I always do. And so we're going to go, we'll look up regional. So regional sales manager. So this is Western US, right? So we'll pretend we're in the Western US. So what I would do, I'd click access email, and let's see if we can access mobile number. So sadly, there's no email found, but we do have a phone number. So I just showed this, but this is the usual flow. Most of the time there is an email, but sometimes there isn't. And the reason why this is the usual flow is usually want to reach out to the sales rep directly via email, then follow up via email, then call the rep. But in this case, because there's no email, I would just call the rep directly. And I can't do it on this video just because there's a lot of rules around recording cold calls and recording, phone calls in general, in the US at least. But I would call the rep and I would say, hey, my name is Scott. I work for X company. We're looking to distribute your product. And usually the rep will say, hey, Scott, can you tell me more about your distribution? You talk about Amazon. And a lot of times, I'd say about 50% of the time, you'll get a no right out of the gate. If that happens, that's okay. The biggest thing you need to figure out is Robert the one who's telling you no? Is Robert saying no more Amazon sellers, or is someone else told Robert? And that's where you get into the conversation thing where you say, hey, Robert, I totally understand that you don't want more Amazon sellers. Could you tell me why? Right? Is it because there is, you have too many sellers right now and all of them are unauthorized? And if he says, yeah, that's why, or they'll usually tell you why off the bat. If they see too many sellers, you can say, have you thought about doing transparency, using the transparency program, which is basically just a supply chain program. Or if they say, none of them contribute to the brand, they just take, it's like, hey, well, we're happy to run advertising for you guys. And you can say these things even if you don't know how to do them yet, because a lot of it is just figuring out as you go. So that's what I would do. I'd call them. And then eventually, if Robert didn't call me back, I called him twice. So we can just pretend that these are calls instead. So it should be call the rep, and then follow-up call to the rep. And every time, each time I like to leave, I'll say, each time I call, leave a voicemail, and send a text over. A lot of times, reps either get a ton of calls because they're sales reps and they don't check their voicemail. And so for me personally, if you wanted to reach me and you called me and left me a voicemail, there's, I'd say 50-50 chance I might not see it. But if you sent me a text, I almost 100% will see it because I check my texts way more than I check my voicemails. So that's the flow that I do. And then if the rep doesn't pick up, then I do a cold call to the company. So now that we've done it here, we found this, you guys are welcome to reach out to Robert. And so if you are on the East Coast, I would reach out to Robert, or I would reach out to this guy. So the big thing too is when you're using Apollo, no phone found, is if you see a number like this, right, that means this is an international phone number. And so you don't want to call this. You only want stuff that starts with +1. So looks like this is an Italian company. That's why there's a +39 in front of it. That's why you want this number, because that's the actual personal phone number, whereas this is the company headquarters in Italy, which is helpful, but not that helpful. And so in this case, instead of reaching out to the company, instead of cold calling the company, if they don't respond, what I would do is find more sales reps. So I would just look up sales, and now you have way more sales reps. And then I would call all of these people who are located in the US, and eventually one of them will pick up. So outreach is a lot more about persistence, and it's finding the brand and then finding the contact is super easy, right? We just did that in like 7 minutes. The hardest part, and you'll get even better at it, and it can go super fast. You can find brands, contact within 2 minutes. The hardest part is being persistent until you get a response, right? Wholesale is all about persistence. So let's do one more. We'll skip CMT Orange Tools. We'll keep scrolling down. And so you'll get a sense as you're looking through this about what, potential really good brand will be. So let's look at Merca. Let's see what this brand is. So this looks pretty good. We got a big spread of different sellers. So let's see if we can find this. So Merca. Okay, perfect. So now this popped up. This is in Finland. So the problem is not the company being located overseas. I know I said when we were doing the outreach, that you want to find a company that's not located in China. We want to locate in the U.S. The problem is that there just must be U.S. sellers because they have to have distribution in the U.S. Right? You have to be able to get the product. So I'm going to go to view, and then I'm going to do the regional search, and then so you got a bunch of stuff in here. So a lot of these looks like some of these are international, regional, which makes sense given that this is a company from Finland selling U.S. So I'll look at this. Let's see if this is mobile number. Also, if it's also in starts with 358. Okay, so what you can do here, if it's an international company, you can still email them, right? So let's see, Bobby Hurst. This looks promising just because it says Americas right here. Yeah, so here you go. Here's the U.S. phone number. So this is the rep we would be looking at. Um, so a lot of times I see the regional sales, it'll say where it is. So regional sector leader Americas. It's not completely saying sales rep, but at least it's sector leader, which means he's somewhat involved with the U.S. We have his email right here. I would start out by emailing him and then follow up if he doesn't respond, and then I would call him. And he looks like he's someone we can talk to. And the thing is like, even if the person you're contacting isn't the person that you're actually going to be working with, they can at least refer you, right? And so I would reach out to them. I would get, I would talk about him, talk to him about Amazon. And if he's not the one who makes the decision, you say, hey, can I talk to someone who is? And if he says no, then we go back to the drawing board and we reach out to other people, right? So, but usually they're happy to refer you. They'll just say, hey, it might be a no. And that's fine. The no's are important. They teach you, how to close on the people who end up being a yes. So that's reaching out for wholesale. Hopefully that example is helpful. Again, just another look at this. This is what I use when I'm using Apollo. This is the priority list I follow. And then this is the flow. And it can change a little bit. If there's no phone number, I would call. If there's no email, I'd call right away, then follow up. If there's no phone number, or there's no company phone number, there's no salesperson phone number, I would email reps, and then if they don't respond after two more, send them a third follow up, and then I would send an email to another rep at the company, because again, a lot of times you'll notice people just drop the ball, they don't respond. I've had accounts close, and the person literally never sends the price list. We close the account, we never get the price list, and I have to go back and follow up again. So wholesale, it's all about persistence, finding the brand, and then contacting the brand is the easy part. The hard part is being persistent to either get a yes eventually. And if you like this content and you want more one-on-one help from people like me who have mastered the art of wholesale, check out the link below for the Brand Direct Blueprint, a system that has helped people like Kenny go from doing retail arbitrage and feeling burnt out to doing almost $300,000 a year in profit from his partnered brands, or people like Ronald, who have in just 6 months been able to scale to $50,000 a month in profits. I hope to see you there.